Hey y'all, it's Krista. Merry third day of Christmas. I'm a little late on things, but I have to cook a gumbo. I'm going to multitask and I'm going to do my Thanksgiving for the month of March. And actually, hopefully I'll be able to do the next 4 months because I'm super behind. So in March, my health issues really started to increase and I had a few moments where I was really scared and in a lot of pain. As I said, my asthma was really acting up the month before in February while I was in Rome for the Jubilee of Artists. And I was getting really frustrated with my asthma because it was causing me to cough quite a bit. And that was super, super duper painful because I felt like I couldn't breathe. And it had been such a long time since I had that big of a flare up. So in March, I came home from my trip and pretty much immediately after was like sick and in bed. And uh, it was hard to get out of bed. I think I was in bed probably 12 hours a day. I was sleeping a lot more than I normally do. I thought I broke a rib and it was affecting my sleep, obviously. But one night in particular was really painful. I was kind of stuck in laying down and I was like moving and I could feel like this really sharp pain on my rib, pain I had never felt before, but I was coughing so much for so long that I really thought that I broke a rib. And I went to an ER place and I was like, hey guys, I just really want you to check out this rib situation. It seems broken or at least like significantly bruised. So can you please like just confirm that for me so maybe I could get a note from my work? and they asked a bunch of things. I don't remember all the questions, but they found out I traveled and they asked a bunch of questions. And they were like, actually, we think you have blood clots in your lungs, so you need to go to the ER room. And I was like, must I? And they're like, this is worse actually than a broken rib. A broken rib will heal, but this is pretty bad. And they said this is very serious. So if it's blood clots in the lungs, then you need to go to the hospital immediately, which I did. I was there for a full day and getting multiple tests on and going into the CT scan or whatever. And it turns out it wasn't that, and thankfully, and it wasn't pneumonia, which is what someone else thought. Also, it wasn't COVID, which is what someone else thought, because I was really just coughing so hard, basically all day. I couldn't stop coughing. Maybe from the ash in the air. I think a lot of people had like lung issues at that time, understandably so, because the fires affected the air quality for a long time. And I not only lived on like the border of Altadena and Pasadena, but I also worked in Pasadena. So anyway, thankfully, let's see. Okay, good. Good. Thankfully, it wasn't what I thought it was, but I will say that moment in March was actually the biggest gift God gave me because, and I was really flashing back at that time that moment I was describing where I was in a lot of pain and I thought I broke a rib and I was crying. I was laying in bed and crying and it was like in the movies, you get these like flashback sequences. It was like I had that and I was thinking of all the times in my prayer life where I had prayed for God to show me what it meant to marry him on the cross. And I felt it. I felt, especially that it was a rib. It was a sharp pain on my side. I couldn't help but think of Jesus whose side was pierced after he died. And I've reflected on his side before, and I think that's my favorite wound of his, of the big five, because it's the wound that pierces his heart, first of all, but it's the wound from which the blood and water gushes forth, which represents his love and mercy. So I've always loved his side. To feel that rib pain, I could feel the tears like rolling down the side of my face because I was laying down, and every time I moved, it was super painful and sharp. And it just kept saying, "Oh, thank you, Jesus, thank you, Jesus." Even though I was crying, I said, "Thank you, Jesus," because I just felt like He was answering my prayer. I don't think I knew what I was praying for when I wanted to marry Him crucified, but He granted me that grace of feeling some of that pain, not even close to that pain, but enough to be like I was able to unite that pain, especially in the season of Lent. I love Lent. I love that liturgical season. It's a penitential season. And I feel I understand more and more every year his suffering and his wounds and how truly human he was. Until this point, I've never really had a health issue like that before. So I've had a lot of other kinds of pains in life, but not a lot of physical pain. So to kind of go through a bit of physical pain and be able to kind of get a very small sliver, glimpse of what maybe Jesus went through at Calvary was such a great gift. And it was the biggest gift that I received in March. And I was really starting to feel the effects of the fire relief because didn't sleep very well. I also had a lot of brain fog basically at that time, and I wasn't able to drive out of town, and I felt extremely, extremely limited. I'm a pretty fast-paced person, and I like doing things. I like hosting people. I like going to events and parties and shows and performing arts. And during that month of March, I mean, even if I wanted to, it's like I couldn't even like move at a normal pace. I would have really painful work days. Everyone was trying to get me to take off 2 weeks, and I didn't listen to them. But it was very painful and very formative. And the Lord was really drawing me closer to Him during that season of Lent. This year I didn't do a Lenten penance because life was already so full of suffering. I was like so weak. I couldn't fast like I would have liked to because I really had to eat a lot of iron to sustain me in the weakness, and I really need to resupplement myself after the fire relief because it was so physically demanding on my body, and it just caused so much stress and hormonal change on my body. I felt life was Lent, and I just let the Lord invite me into a deeper understanding of His suffering, His physical suffering, and to just be that weak for that long, for like several months, but particularly starting in March. It was a gift because it made me realize how dependent I really am on Him and how nothing can be done without Him. So anyway, thanks for listening to this day. I have some cut up veggies that I'm going to add to my gumbo now. I guess you could stick around for that if you want to. I am making gumbo for tonight, and I think it'll be really good. I don't know if you know this, but I am Cajun French on the inside. I'm Filipino on the outside, though. I call myself a Cajun Asian, and I have some our seminarians coming in town for this gumbo and some other friends, too. So looking forward to this, and I'm going to go to the next episode and continue cutting vegetables. Thanks for listening.